Welcome to HQ Midday. I'm Tommy Tran. We get some Thursday night football tonight, NFC East edition. Eagles visiting the Giants, where New York is a touchdown and a hook underdog at MetLife. Phillies 4-1, but there are concerns, especially in the offensive side of the ball. Take a look at those Phillies splits. You add in some cryptic tweets from A.J. Brown a couple weeks ago. Things are good, but is there cause for concern? Eagles' last 11 primetime games against the Giants. One word describes it: ownage. Philly looking to become the first back-to-back NFC East champ since they did it way back in 2004. Let's bring in Mike Renner to talk about the champs right now. And again, Mike, this is a 4-1 team. Let me just remind everybody, first and foremost here, yet there are some concerns on the offensive side of the ball. If I were to ask you what some of those are, what would you point to first?
One's the running game. I mean, that's the biggest one, right? Saquon Barkley's on pace for 908 rushing yards. And it's not as if he's been hurt. Now, he is a little banged up now, but it's not as if, like, they had this big exodus along the offensive line. They just lost their right guard, and the running game has completely gone in the tank. The talent is still there, but that's the biggest thing. And what I need to see is a plan B. What they're doing right now isn't working. They're trying to get the tight ends. They're trying to use a lot of two tight end sets, get them involved in the running game. They don't have a good second tight end as a run blocker, and Dallas Goedert, since he's been banged up, he's been a really bad run blocker this season. So if they ain't going to help you out there, you don't need them on the football field. You got some good wide receivers there that are backups. Get those guys out on the football field. And then the other big thing with me, they are not attacking the second level of the defense, the intermediate area of the field. Jalen Hurts has only 9 attempts on passes 10 to 20 yards down the football field this year. That is so far and away the lowest of all starting quarterbacks in the NFL that 4 non-starters actually have more passing attempts at that area of the football field than Jalen Hurts. And when you have a strong running game, and trust me, defenses still treat the Eagles like they have a strong running game, even if it hasn't been that way, that's the area of the football field you have to attack. That's what you got to circle in bright red lights. It's like that is where you're going to create the space, and they are just not scheming up guys to attack that area of the football field.
We've also got J.P. Acosta joining us here. Guys pushing the pile fully complete. JP, same question to you. When we take a look at this Philly offense, what stands out to you about why things haven't worked statistically at the very least?
I 100% agree with Mike. The biggest thing starts with up front. Their offensive line has not been as good or as dominant as it's been in previous years. Landon Dickerson has been nursing an injury. He has not had the same push that he's had in the run game. And then Tyler Steen just isn't the same guy that Mekhi Becton is on the ground when it comes to moving people in the run game. So you lose that bite. You lose what makes the Eagles the Eagles. They force teams to answer questions about how they can defend the run while accounting for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith on the outside, because you can still defend the run against the Eagles and be successful. So I think if they're going to try and defeat the Giants, they have to try and get that run game going. They have to try and be explosive, because that's where the Eagles' issues all lie.
Yeah, Dickerson's got that ankle. I think he's going to be out for the game tonight. When it comes to A.J. Brown, I mentioned that cryptic tweet. Then it's sort of like the squeaky wheel type of deal. Yet it's always trying to figure out more consistently how to get your guys like Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown the ball. JP, when it comes to the pass catchers in this offense, how do you approach it?
So I actually think it's really funny with A.J. Brown putting out the tweet and then complaining about not getting the ball. I think it's more about when he's not getting the ball compared to just not getting the ball in general. The Eagles use Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown as bailouts on third down. When it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and long, they're throwing go balls to them. Their deep target rate is the highest it's been since A.J. Brown has gotten to Philadelphia. It's the highest Devontae Smith's had in his career. They are using them as these explosive bailouts to try and get them out of obvious passing situations. But teams know that they're going to go to A.J. Brown on these go routes, on these curl routes. There's no variety. And like Mike said, there's no passing over the middle of the field. So you lose all those easy buttons for a guy like A.J. Brown, who is so dominant on in-breakers that can use his physicality to basically box out DBs over the middle of the field. So you lose some of that bite and you become a one-dimensional passing offense, which hurts everybody and ends up having A.J. Brown putting out tweets where nobody understands what he's saying.
Yeah, I want to see more play-action passing game from this Eagles team. Yeah, you have the pass protectors on the edge that you'll still have time without the play-action passing game, but you don't manipulate linebackers when you do that. You don't free up areas for your wide receivers over the middle of the field when you do that. So they've been one of the least effective teams at play action passing this year. 5.5 yards per attempt for Jalen Hurts on play action passes, one of the lowest in the NFL. That's just got to change, and that's just schematics right there.
Just to follow up on that then, Mike, and JP, you can follow, and I don't know how much you guys have talked about this on the podcast, but how much of this falls on Kevin Patullo, the play caller, has gotten 4 or 5 weeks now to try to find a more consistent identity on that side of the ball?
To me, one part's Patullo. I think that's a big part. I do want to see a plan B from him that we haven't seen yet. But the other part is they've played some darn good defenses. I mean, it was the Broncos, the Bucks, the Rams. These are playoff teams the past 3 weeks, and they are still 4-1. So while everyone wants to hit the panic button, we were hitting the panic button week 5 last year before their bye, especially with the defense side of the ball before they turned it around. When the talent's there, the way the Philadelphia Eagles have talent, it makes things a lot easier to figure it out in the long run.
All right, let's get to the injury report that we have. I mentioned Landon Dickerson for Philly. New York's got some issues as well. Darius Slayton, who was a popular fantasy waiver wire guy a week ago, is already out here. But we do have, talking about Tyrone Tracy coming back as well after he lost a few weeks due to injury. We saw Cam Scatterbo. JP, what will Tyrone Tracy's role be when he gets back into the offense, you think?
I think Tyrone Tracy's going to add a lot more explosiveness to the offense. I think Cam Scatterbo is incredibly fun, incredibly physical, but you miss some of that home run element in the Giants offense, especially with Malik Neighbors out due to a torn ACL. He won't be coming back this season, so you need some juice in this offense. If this is really going to work, if you're going to lean into the run game, you need to have an explosive element, and Tyrone Tracy's vision and explosiveness with the ball in his hands should help them get some more big plays going outside of Cam Scatterbo running into loaded boxes for most of the game. So I'm excited to see if he can come back and bring that level of juice that he had last year.
And I want to see some 2 running back sets. These are still 2 of your best weapons. I don't want to see Bo Collins out there. I saw him last year at Notre Dame, and I'm surprised he's even on an NFL roster right now. I don't need to see more wide receivers out there. Tyrone Tracy was a former collegiate wide receiver. I'd rather get him out there with Cam Scatterbo just to have something for defenses to think about. So big to have him back. They need as many playmakers as they can get with all those injuries.
So you hinted at it a little bit, Renner, here in terms of like what a Giants upset victory. Again, Vegas has it about a touchdown here, which is not out of the realm of possibility, but what type of game needs to be played, game script, to have a potential upset tonight?
Yeah, you need to have bounces go your way. There's no bones about it. They are less talented pretty much across the board than this Eagles team, but there are some areas where they're mismatches. Dexter Lawrence against that backup left guard and Brett Hoff and the undersized center in Cam Jurgensen. He's only had 7 pressures all season, but he's the guy whose last full healthy season had 65. This is a guy who can turn it on. He needs to in this one. You need that fumble. You need that game-changing pick. If they don't have a play like that, if the Eagles just play Eagles ball that we've seen, even if it's ugly, but if they don't turn the ball over, only 1 turnover all season, if that continues, I think they kind of just roll the Giants. There really is only one path to success, and it's the defensive line with all those pass rushers really taking over this game for the Giants.
So the Giants, JP, come off that high against the Chargers. Then there's the low against the Saints here. I mean, what's it going to take for them to bounce back tonight?
So for the Giants to bounce back, I think they really do need to lean on the run game and force the Eagles onto their back foot. Force the Eagles into an obvious passing situation. That is where the Giants can get after teams. They have a great defensive line when it comes to rushing the passer. They have too many problems up front. Outside of Dexter Lawrence, you have Abdul Carter, who lines up over the guard in pass rushing situations. Brian Burns is having a great year. You have Kayvon Thibodeau on the outside. But I'm also looking at guys like Darius Alexander and Roy Robertson Harris. Both play really well against the Saints. They both had some really nice moments. Alexander, being a rookie, is really starting to put together some nice stretches of play. So I think if you're going to beat the Eagles, you have to beat them up front. If you can't beat them up front, especially on the defensive line, the Eagles can kind of just lean on you and take this game away. But I think for the Giants to win, they have to create negative plays up front.
Divisional matchup kickoff 8:15 for Thursday Night Football. We thank the fellas from Pushing the Pile, Mike Renner and JP Acosta, along with Kyle Long. Scan the QR code. Make sure you're checking them out however you listen to your podcast, and also check them out on YouTube. Once again, the line 7.5 for Kansas Eagles, and we have Mackenzie Brooks from inside the lines, rather, to give us an outside look at the spread, which you don't love here, but you got another way that we can attack this game.
If I were to attack it, I'd probably go maybe that first half under 20.5. I could see it going that way, or the Eagles to cover that first half with the 4.5 line instead of getting 7.5 in that hook. But what my team likes to do here, of course, is always look at the player projections. Where do we see the most value from the model compared to odds makers? 3 plays we like, might as well parlay them together, have ourselves a fun Thursday here, pay for the drinks. Start with Jackson Dart, under 177.5 passing yards. We have him projected for 163. Does this mean this has to be a bad Jackson Dart game? Not necessarily, but all of his healthy receivers are low yard per reception type of guys here. And you mentioned the running backs as well earlier. I think that's going to be a lot of the game plan. And you saw him try to chuck it downfield twice last week, both ending up in interceptions. Take that for what you will. We move to the Eagles. Saquon Barkley over 2.5 receptions. This line is set like it would have been last season. Wake up, it's 2025. We are 4-1 to this over, and he averages 3.4 yards per reception, just 3.4 receptions this season. We'll go back to a little bit of correlation here. Wan'Dale Robinson under 5.5 receptions. We have him dancing around 4.8 to 5 here. He had 5 last week. Again, this line is implying he accounts for 33% of the team's receptions. He's typically around 26, and I think this is odds makers over adjusting for Malik Neighbors not being here, but that just means more defensive attention on our guy Robinson. So you can give me 5, you can have a good game, but we're going to take the receptions instead of the yards here, and for a nice payout of plus 338.
We will take that. 2 Giants and an Eagle. Ken, certainly appreciate it. Part of the Inside the Lines team. Projections, prices, and bets. Scan the QR code or check out cbssports.com/ITL.
My guy Danny Kanell tapped in with the Morning Buzz now. Danny, it's been way too long since we've had you on the Buzz, so it's a pleasure to welcome you back in here. And I want to start off with the troubling Eagles offense. Now that they're no longer undefeated, I think that we can truly get into it and talk about the offense and all the issues that they have. They're 30th in total yards per game, 29th in yards per play, and it just does not look good at all.
No, it's been bad. And I guess it's rich people problems, right? To be 4-1, and we're sitting here talking about how bad their offense has been, but it is what it is. And when you collapse with a game like they had against the Broncos, then it really starts to become glaring. And I think a lot of focus is squarely on the offensive coordinator and some of the play calling. Kevin Patullo takes over an offense, and which one was humming last year and really had a very clear-cut identity. All of a sudden, they have lost their way, and they've lost their identity, which, as you mentioned, Saquon Barkley was such a huge part of. To see him without a 100-yard game is pretty alarming and embarrassing, I think, for the Philadelphia Eagles fans. Then it impacts Jalen Hurts' ability to throw the football, because I think he is somebody who is really, really good. This is not disrespectful to Jalen Hurts, but he's not the type of quarterback that's going to put his team on his back and throw for 300 yards a game. So all of this is kind of combined for the perfect storm, and one of the reasons Kevin Patullo has his job on the line despite being at the top of the division.
So all that in mind, and you look towards tonight, they have offensive line issues. Dickerson not going to play. Lane Johnson's been in and out. What do you think is the true issue for the Eagles? Is it scheme? Is it players' execution, or something different?
Both, but I will say it is one of the most bizarre stats that I've seen all season long is last week to see Saquon Barkley only get 6 carries in the game. That to me is inexcusable. And I don't care what type of issues you have across the offensive line or with an offense, you've got to get your guy the ball, and you've got to force feed it to him, because he is one explosive play away from kind of resolving some of this. And you've got to stay committed to the run, which is where I do wonder what is going on inside that offensive play calling room. The other thing, Jalen Hurts has a tendency to hang on to the ball too long. He doesn't want to force the ball down the field, but at some point you've got to get to a check down. You've got to get the ball out of your hands. And I think that's one of the reasons A.J. Brown is so frustrated, is he hasn't been given the ball. So I think you've almost got to force feed the ball to your playmakers. Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, get them involved early and often, and I think they can play themselves out of this funk. But if they don't, whew, boy, watch out for those Philly fans. They're going to be very frustrated, and deservedly so based on what we've seen so far.
And probably watch out for responses on social media coming from A.J. Brown alluding to whatever he might be dealing with at the time. On the other side tonight, though, it's like, okay, these are the Giants, and this is the rookie Jackson Dart making the start. What version of him do you think shows up tonight? The one we saw that kind of was hitting his dance in a little bit in his first opportunity, or the one with the turnover issues?
Zach, unfortunately, I think you see both, right? I mean, I think you'll see a little bit of a roller coaster ride. This is kind of typical for rookie quarterbacks. And you mentioned that first start he had where he's dancing in the end zone, he's kind of feeling himself, and then you go to New Orleans, you have 2 touchdowns in the first half, and you're thinking, oh, this is easy. This isn't that much different than college football. And then all of a sudden you throw a couple picks, your team ends up losing the game, and all of a sudden now you're coming under the scrutiny of that New York media, which can be pretty harsh, as I can well attest. But ultimately, I do think this is going to be a process for Jackson Dart. Like, you want to try to build on what you've seen already, like the athleticism we've seen. You want to continue to utilize his legs. You like the big play capability, his ability to make tight window throws. And then you want to eliminate the mistake plays where you're forcing the ball and get a little bit careless with the football. And I would include Cam Scadaboo in that one, who's another rookie who the Giants fan base loves. And I love the way he plays the game. He's got to be better with the football because turnovers will absolutely kill you. So you kind of want to rein in Jackson Dart a little bit, but you don't want to lose that big play potential. That's why I think the roller coaster ride will continue not only tonight, but for the rest of the season. It's just kind of the way it goes for rookies in the NFL.
I will say I like his accessories and the iced out neckwear that he has because that just looks plain out cold on a QB. So I'm a fan of that. He probably will be a fan of getting some more help from his defense because the defensive line for the Giants was supposed to be amazing this year. Brian Burns has been good, 5 sacks, tied for 3rd in the NFL. They draft Abdul Carter and everyone's like, whoa, look at this. But he only has 13 tackles and half a sack to this point of the season. Where's he been?
I think there's no doubt it's been disappointing based on the expectations of a top 10 pick to come in there. And he was christened to be potentially the next guy in that system. His comparisons to some all-time greats, and those were probably incredibly lofty expectations. But I do think they'll come. Similar to quarterback, I think you're going against better talent, and you're probably getting a lot of eyeballs on you where protections kind of turn towards you. They're giving you a lot of attention because you came with that fanfare, and that's allowed Brian Burns to kind of go eat and get his. So as I think as offensive lines start to adjust, maybe they turn more attention towards Burns. That should open up the opportunity for Abdul Carter. And there is sort of a rookie wall that you hit sometimes. It's a long offseason. You kind of go from college to the draft, to getting into training camp. All of a sudden, you're playing more games than you're used to. I think it sort of takes time to get used to the routine of the NFL, to the pace of the game. And I think this is not a serious cause for concern. I think we say, let's see the season play out for Abdul Carter, see how things go. I think he'll slowly improve week by week as he learns some of the techniques that he's facing, some of the bigger bodies that he's facing now in the NFL. But I don't think it's time to panic yet on Abdul Carter.
8:15 Eastern, the kickoff for that one. Thursday Night Football should at least be fun, intriguing, and exciting with a lot of storylines to take care of. Danny Kanell, thank you so much. Appreciate it as always. And you get more time over in the NFL with the folks at Pushing the Pile. Mike Renner. Our guy Kyle Long talking all things NFL. Scan that QR code, get the information on your hair.